Hello.
G'day, how are you?
Oh, that sigh. You tired, are you? Or you
A
down in
little
the
bit
dumps?
weary. No, I'm a little bit weary, that's all. Nothing too exciting.
Okay. Did work tire you today?
I work very hard. I have you know.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't sound convinced at all.
Do you want to go to bed? Would you rather skip the meeting?
No, it's nothing like that.
Okay.
Nothing like that.
Uh,
So, what's happening? Anything exciting at all?
no, today, just about an hour ago, I pushed through. I managed to walk just over a kilometer without resting. Okay.
Very good.
And the yeah, the pain sort of got to a point and then stayed at that level. So I could push through, which is a new breakthrough for me, because usually it gets so painful that I'd have to stop. Okay. But I didn't stop today for the first time. So that was good. And also my left leg, my left calf had absolutely no pain in it whatsoever in that process. So that's really, so all in all, that's a good sign. And yeah, I'm still looking at, I only realized last night when, each evening I try and spend, whatever time before I go to bed, just looking at this plant-based diet, and trying to just look for any, the sort of detail. I told you on Sunday that they understand that, and you nearly threw your toys out the cot, that coffee was a no-no. Okay. And so, but it is. Okay. And there are 4 different doctors that I'm looking at. And 3 of them were recommended by Tian in South Africa, who's behind the product that they develop, the plant-based products that they're developing here in Australia. And I get, they've all got a slightly, they don't contradict any, no factual contradictions, but some of them will ease up a little bit here or ease up a little bit there, and I try and understand, what the consequences of that. Okay. And what I discovered last night was that eggs are absolutely a no-no. Okay. And basically, I mean, the one person calls them poison for the body. Okay. But others are, maybe give an explanation like very high in cholesterol. Okay. And also high in saturated fats. Okay. So that's enough for me to say goodbye eggs from last night. Okay. And I had been eating.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of bodybuilders, well, they certainly have the egg whites, don't they?
Oh, yeah, that's different. Egg white is different. That's protein. The egg white is protein. The yellow is actually where you find your problem in an egg. Okay. In what I've just described. No, egg white by itself is fine. It's protein, definitely. And but I mean, there is enough protein anyway in the plants. So if you're going to go become a bodybuilder, then you need excess protein. You do. And so that's one place to get it, would be egg whites. Make an omelet with egg whites. So if I did have to, but eat any or want some extra protein for any reason, I would certainly look at egg whites. But our protein needs, as we get older and older, actually become less and less. So there's a pretty good balance of protein generally in plants. And the only thing that I'm left with on my question, time hasn't got me there yet. Maybe tonight I will look at it, because I want to also look at alternative coffee, maybe chicory or something like that. And but I also want to look at something, from time to time I feel like something sweet. And today I found some organic dates in my cupboard, and I thought, okay, they were very sweet. But I need to just check, where that falls into the whole picture, and some sort of alternative coffee.
I mean, there is that alternative sweetener, is that what do they call it? Stevia or something like that? Stevia? Or,
Yeah, you get stevia, and you get there are quite a few of them. We've got perhaps the one that's from my research is the healthiest one, but that's not what I'm talking about. Dark chocolate is good, but the darker the chocolate, the more bitter it is. Okay, so it doesn't really satisfy. I take dark chocolate, but not when I feel like something sweet. Okay, so I'm just looking for something.
So what's the issue with coffee?
The coffee is the caffeine, and what the caffeine does. I mean, there are a lot of good qualities with coffee. All right, there really are. Okay, so what historically what people have done apparently, okay, is really ignored the influence of caffeine. Okay, and they just sort of write it off as, oh, it's a stimulant. Okay. But they don't talk any more about that, because they want to talk about the benefits of coffee. So you leave that side of it out of it. But if you have any sort of heart issues, okay, or blood issues, then it's a no-no. Okay, it's a bottom line, it's a no-no, because of the different things. The caffeine gets into all sorts of systems, and so forth. Okay. And it's why people drink it to stay awake or something, or they fall in and they have a cup of coffee. And I'm also at fault there. I've never really researched it, because, we humans, Don, are really, really peculiar creatures. Okay. And no wonder that I think intelligent robots are going to surpass us in intelligence in the future, because we tend to be so gullible, and I talk about myself, and in relation to coffee, because historically I have gone on the side of researching the benefits of coffee, okay, not researching the negative aspects of coffee, okay, and with it, then we get a sort of a belief system over the years. My dad drank coffee, and I've been drinking coffee all my life, and I love it too. And hey, you know what? It's beneficial. And that's what I mean by intelligent. I mean, how intelligent is that? Okay, you're just focusing on the belief system, and you're finding a reason to take what you like. So anyway, it's a whole new cycle in my life, this, and well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So hopefully I can say, watch this space and see what happens. But yeah. And the other things too, like, always used to eat yogurt. Okay. And now I'm starting to learn why dairy, I could never understand dairy. Again, it's the same as coffee. I've liked dairy. I like yogurt. Okay. And hey, yogurt's got probiotics in, so it's healthy. Okay. And it's got calcium in it. Okay, that's marketing rubbish. Okay, the amount of calcium is negligible compared to plants. Okay, you get far more calcium in plants than you do in milk. It's like oranges. When I was growing up, if you wanted vitamin C, you just have to have oranges and oranges, and the two are synonymous with each other. Healthy vitamin C and oranges. Okay. But goodness me, there are so many plants with more vitamin C than oranges. But it was just, we were gullible. We listened to the marketing, and so oranges are not unhealthy. I'm just using that as an example for how we develop our belief system and then believe what we believe, what we've developed.
It's interesting.
It's a very interesting time now in my life. To see how we move forward. But really, otherwise, eating since last Saturday, a totally plant-based diet, other than the things I didn't know about, like eggs. And I did stop milk, because I used to have a glass of milk at night before I went to bed and so on. Okay. But now I can understand what actually milk has, regardless of whether it's A1 or A2 milk. So yeah, when it appeals to when the reasoning appeals to my logic, then I go with it. Okay. And,
It's interesting, because one of the things that came to mind just as I heard you talking there, particularly about in the evening, is one of the Zen practices, like a Zen Buddhist practice. Is a lot of them at around about 8 p.m. at night undertakes some practices which are basically aimed at calming the mind. And the purpose of that, according to their practices, is that at night time things seem to get magnified. That in the darkness things seem to get magnified. So if you're worried about something, in the still of the night, that worry gets magnified somewhat. And hence, when you wake up in the light of the new day, things don't seem as bad as perhaps you were thinking about it through the night, sort of thing.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
So they deliberately have these practices which are aimed at quietening or calming the mind prior to sleep. And like you and I have talked about things from time to time about, if you go to bed and read, or if you go to bed and browse the internet or whatever.
Let me just turn this off. How do I turn this down? There we are. Yeah, just press the button. Okay.
Yeah, so like there's these other things, like if you sit there watching YouTube videos before you go to sleep, and you're watching nonsense, well, it'll have an impact on your sleep.
I'm sure you've experienced that too. Yeah, definitely experienced that.
Or even if you're watching a movie or something before you go to bed, if it's violent or whatever.
Yeah.
That definitely affects you.
Yeah, I like that little editor if it's violent. Sue and I have a little habit that we do on because of the amount of time we spend working. On Saturday evening, we watch a non-violent movie, usually a Hallmark movie, which is always happy ending and love, and there's no tension, but there's always a story behind it of some description that keeps your interest. So but otherwise reading I find before going to bed. And what I'm doing now, of course, in the last week has been watching videos about these various doctors and plant-based so it's totally, but there's nothing. It's actually exciting for me because I'm learning and I'm enjoying it. And the videos are relatively short. So, they'll just say something in passing, and inevitably, the one I was watching last night, when it was recorded, it was live, and they had people texting in questions. Okay, so you never know what questions are coming up. So therefore, you get these little answers of things that you never expected. Okay, which is also interesting, because if you can't go and search for those things because you're not thinking about them, but oh my goodness, they're interesting. Okay, and yeah. One last night was about salt. Suddenly it came up in one of the questions, and so yeah, things I didn't know. But yeah, going to doing something calming before you go to bed. I've exchanged now my glass of milk that I used to have. I've exchanged it with what's that herb? That calming herb.
Like chamomile or something like that, is it? Or?
Yeah. What did you say? Which one?
Chamomile.
Yeah, chamomile. Oh, you call it chamomile? Yeah. That's exactly was the one. 100% pure chamomile, and yeah. So that just because it has a reputation, I get, and so I haven't really researched it. I've had it in the house. So, have you experienced it? Do you use it?
No, I haven't really. But the whole idea of drinking teas, like herbal teas, and that appeals to me.
Yeah.
Particularly like, like the teas I enjoy the most are like green tea, that rooibos tea, those sort of tea. Peppermint tea I've always enjoyed. So those sorts of teas, appeal to me, and I guess that's one thing I'd probably substitute the coffee would be probably a green tea.
Yeah. I drink green tea and rooibos, and now chamomile, and also we've got matcha, which is similar to green tea, except much more concentrated, I think. Is the matcha tea, and then I also drink ginger tea. Okay. And not a blend. Well, I have a blend as well, but I also have just the straight ginger powder, very strong. Okay. You got so yeah, that's
that's something that sort of appeals to me. So that, because you're right. I mean, the coffee thing is more just about habitual, I think, than anything.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Absolutely. And it's, you've grown to like the taste. Okay. I mean, I have a filter and I have a black, unsweetened. It's just a lovely taste. Okay. And give me
the other thing.
Sorry.
The other thing too, I suppose too. It's like anything. It's about moderation too, perhaps. So maybe maybe there's nothing particularly on balance harmful of having just 1 cup a day. I mean, so.
Yeah, as humans, we often rationalize with that sort of thinking. Okay, and so we then continue doing what we're doing, and
just set fire to my house. Go on.
Yeah, we really are strange creatures. But yeah, so with me, I particularly right now, because I have an issue, and I just go boots and all. I want to, if this approach to lifestyle is going to resolve my issues, then oh my goodness, I'm not going to go break the rules just a little bit here or there. I'm going to go full in.
Oh no, for sure. And I think the other encouraging thing about the approach too is that it's completely within your control. You're not relying on a third party to manage your health.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay. and I constantly get SMSs from the GP saying, please come in, I want to discuss your latest results, okay? And, just to prescribe a whole lot of stuff to me or whatever it is, okay? So I'm waiting until my Friday CT scan is over with, and then I'll say to her, enough's enough now. But I just want to see what comes out. I don't particularly want to have the scan, but my wife and I think it's a logical end to the diagnosis. Okay, and and I like the surgeon, and so I thought, well, let's go and have it. And then I'm sure he'll have a discussion with me once the surgeon will. Okay. Well, once that I'm not particularly interested in having a discussion with the GP. Okay. Yeah. Also, just at this moment, it made me think. My daughter Laura, I told you she's a vegan, and but her work and she has a group of doctors that she works with and it's a group called Doctors Without Medicine. That's the you've heard of Doctors Without Borders. Yes,
Doctors Without Medicine. Wow.
Okay. Doctors Without Medicine. Yeah. And she actually works with them. I'm not quite sure how. I still haven't got my head around that one. But yeah, so I said to her, well, here I am, now give me your advice. And so this morning she sent through, she discussed it with the doctors, and they came up with a strategy of clearly, it obviously has to be plant-based because they are plant-based. They're vegans. They're all vegans. Okay, and but there's certain things, and the one thing that they talk very strongly about is cayenne pepper. Okay. And again, the others actually haven't mentioned that particularly. Not that I haven't listened to enough, but that was quite a strong thing was cayenne pepper. And they also mentioned something quite interesting, and that is Epsom salts. Okay. But Epsom salts as a tiny bit in water to drink. Okay. I'd never heard of that.
No.
So and then the other things are perhaps what I'm already doing, in fact. So those are just the two things: adding cayenne pepper and adding Epsom salts. And,
I know the big, like when you sort of point out, like one or two sort of foods or whatever, is like in that yogic culture, that Sadhguru talks about. They're very big, obviously, on turmeric, which you knew about anyway. Yeah. The other thing they often talk about are neem leaves, so leaves of the neem tree.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And I have tried them, like just when I was going to some of those retreats, and it's basically they just pluck a leaf off the tree, typically a juvenile leaf, a young leaf, young green leaf, but incredibly bitter, bitter, but and just chew it for probably 3 minutes, and then just swallow it. Yeah.
And then swallow it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I've heard about it. I've never studied it or tried it.
I know you see some of the supplement companies selling it in a powdered form, in a capsule and stuff like that. Not sure that because it's been processed that it might have the same benefits, but
it really can't have the same benefits. Okay. Because the neem, let's say it has chemical A, and that's what's important. Besides that chemical A, it has a whole lot of other chemicals in it. It may be another 100, if you like. Okay. And those in the processing, or in depending how, particularly in heating, can get lost. But the liveness, they need to work together. A good example of what I'm saying is when people buy vitamin C supplements. Okay. Now, they go to the shop, and there it says on the label vitamin C, and underneath ascorbic acid. Okay. Now, people, because of their belief systems, okay, and because of their brainwashing, think that ascorbic acid and vitamin C is one and the same thing. Okay. But the problem is that ascorbic acid is part of vitamin C, okay, but it's not vitamin C, okay, it's ascorbic acid, okay. And so if you take vitamin C in a fruit or something, or a fresh dark green leafy vegetable or something, you're going to get all the other chemicals in addition to the ascorbic acid. Okay.
It's interesting, because when I was talking to my eldest son on the weekend, about COVID and stuff like that, and he was sort of, telling me stories about his friends and people at work and so on. And I suppose it's one of his beliefs as well. But he's vegan, but his view is that the fact that he eats blueberries every day, was a major contributor to building his immunity against COVID. So
I would absolutely agree with him on that. Okay. Blueberries are powerful. Okay. My plant is just finished now. We've had months of blueberries. And we just pick them and eat them on a daily basis. Okay. Powerful. In fact, all berries. Okay. But blueberries and blackberries, they really are powerful. Even strawberries, organic strawberries. But blueberries are the top of the list. Yeah. Yeah. And so building the immune system. And it's also interesting when one talks about the immune system. One talks about building the immune system as if the immune system is like a building. We can put some more bricks on and we can build it. Okay. But it's just not like that, okay? And our immune system, is largely, alien-based, okay, which is the probiotics, and if they're healthy, the more diversity you have in the probiotics, the better, okay. They're like, the list is very long of the possibilities. But generally, if you look at the yogurts and the things and the tablets that we get, they're probably, if you're lucky, 4 different varieties. Okay. And, but your body's capable of producing them, as long as you're feeding your probiotics or with the right food, and
and that's really what it's about, isn't it? It's about providing the appropriate nourishment for that internal flora to thrive, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. What it is. Yeah. And to avoid eating something that's known to maybe even damage your gut lining. Okay. The gut lining is so thin, very, very thin. So, when people say build their immune system, I think possibly, I don't know, maybe your son can answer it if you question him a bit further, but, you need to be building all your systems, okay? And you do that through the nourishment that you get from plants, doesn't matter, or herbs and spices and fruits and just things like that, and teas. Definitely, I'm like you. I'm also a great advocate of teas as well. And if I can digress a minute with the word teas, I'm also aware that a lot of tea bags, okay, are not healthy. Like the actual bags, the containers, okay, and I've never researched it. I'm just aware of it. I've read things about it, but I don't know between this one and that one and the other one, which ones are good. And then I thought, well, maybe the answer actually is just to have loose leaf tea. Okay, don't have your tea in tea bags. Okay, so that could actually, that could be the answer. I just thought of that now. That could be the solution. You don't have to worry about the tea bags. Again, it's just the convenience of the tea bags, isn't it? But I guess you put that's what our parents used to do. A couple of spoons of tea leaves in a teapot and put in the boiling water and strain it, and that's how we grew up having tea.
Okay. Exactly right.
So maybe that's a route to follow. Loose leaf tea.
That's a good idea.
In fact, I'm going to write that down so I don't lose track of that one.
Because I guess when you think about it, it's less processed, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it's not being sieved through something that in itself is processed.
Well, it's like anything, isn't it? When you think about, like even juicing, like if you juice using a blender, for example, it damages a lot of the qualities of the juice just because of that violent action. Whereas if it's a cold pressed juice, then it's a completely different juice.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. That's why you buy olive oil that's been cold pressed.
Yes.
In fact, any oil, you're quite right. That's also something interesting that a couple of nights ago I was listening to, and that is with regards to oil. A plant-based diet, don't overdo the oil. The good oils, like the olive oil and the coconut oil and the nut oils and things. Whereas I, with my previous belief system with Dr. Gundry, he was a great advocate of putting a lot of virgin olive oil over everything. Okay. And so for years now, I've been using a lot of oil. Okay. And now I've listened to the science behind it. Okay. Again, there's, for a little bit of flavoring here or there, that's good, no harm. Okay. But the plants have oils, and as long as you're having a diversity of a diet, you're going to get the oils that your body needs. You don't have to add all that extra oil. Okay. So
like before you mentioned the cayenne pepper.
Yeah.
Like, what sort of doses was your daughter recommending that you have?
Like a tip of well, the Epsom salts was on just a tip on the end of a knife. Okay. The cayenne pepper, basically, it's very strong. Okay. And it's very hot. Okay. So just whatever you can stomach would be good, because it immediately does 5 or 6 different things to your blood, positive things to your blood. Okay. So she knows as well as I do that it's not something to put on your food easily. Okay. That cayenne pepper. It's not like black pepper. So I'm not sure I'm going to just, it's going to arrive any minute now from Woolworths delivery while we're talking. And if it hasn't already arrived, maybe it hasn't. Sue's just gone and collected it. I'm not sure. But then, we'll start that. Yeah, so I'll answer that in some weeks to come.
Yeah, and I think, as you say, it's the belief system sort of almost works against you. It's like, oh, well, I wouldn't eat that like that, you know. You know, I might have a bit of that in a stew or something like that, but in terms of having it, either, you know, sprinkled on a breakfast or something like that, no, I wouldn't do that, you know.
Absolutely. You're right. But I think things change, you know, when I think when the urgency changes as well. You know, I went through a time last Friday night where, you know, I was being told that I could die. Okay. You know, any minute you could have a heart attack because of this enormous big blockage that I've got. Okay. So now, you know, that's when you start taking certain things seriously. Okay. And you don't think, well, if somebody says, you know, go and walk and push through the pain, which they did, I now walk and I push through that pain. Okay. And if somebody says, you know, have some canine pepper, and I'm going to have some canine pepper, you know, regardless. Okay. And so I think one's belief systems, you know, maybe, well, not only belief systems, just trying to moderate people's advice that you believe in.
I think in one way, like one sort of context to think about it is you know, through that idea of awareness that we've often talked about. You know, as you become aware of some of these things, and quite often they're blindingly obvious, but once you're aware of it,
yes, yeah, I agree.
You know, and even in a you know, another step out from that is like, you know, just and humans are, again, as you say, strange animals, because, you know, the fact that change is happening every moment, you know, like it's constant, everything is changing, you know, our body's changing, and the environment around us is changing, everything, the whole universe is changing moment by moment, and it's just coming to that level of awareness that it changes your perspective about things, you know.
Right.
So this idea that, oh, you know, I won't do that today because I'll do it tomorrow or whenever I get around to it. Well, guess what? If it needs to be done today, then do it today. So, absolutely. And the diet is the classic example of that, you know. Well, if I need to explore these things, then it's not something I'll get around to. It's something I will do today, because today is when it needs to be done.
Absolutely. And you also feel guilty at times. You know, when I decided on Saturday, you know, to cut out dairy, okay, I mean, I had 6 liters of milk in the fridge, okay, full cream milk, and you think, let me just finish this first before I start the non-dairy.
Right. No, that's right.
Oh my goodness. Funny humans. But you know, you think, well, I drink it, I'm not going to lose that, I'm not going to waste that money. Okay. And you know, Sue's also, you know, wants to get onto this in a way. And she says, oh, don't worry, I'll drink the milk over time, you know. But it's unhealthy for you, you see. But she doesn't have that same urgency that I have. Okay. So, yeah.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating. Thought the same thing with the eggs, but I've got 24 eggs last night. Anyway, we've got dogs. We've given it to the dogs.
Well, that's right. Yeah, good for their coat.
Yeah. So we believe.
Well, I mean, that or just, you know, put them in the garden, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Give them to your blueberries, you know. So
yeah. No, the dogs were. Susan even started to feed the dog some vegetables now. So,
yeah, well, that's right. There's no reason.
yeah.
I mean, in the wild, that's what they eat. They eat vegetables, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like plants and that. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And they even eat plants in my garden, you know, my dogs. You know,
yeah, well, that's right. I mean, they often, like I know with my dog, she goes out there and eats grass and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, mine eats grass and eats certain plants, okay, in the garden. But yeah, certainly grass. Yeah.
You know, then just thinking about that, like, you know, with the diet and that, it certainly encourages you to think about, you know, like your makeup in a completely different way, doesn't it? Like, you know, we think about, oh, you know, this is me, this is my body, this is who I am, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you've done just a you know a scant bit of research, you know, like, well, it's you know it's not me because it's alien. You know?
Yeah.
And you know, my role is to make informed decisions to ensure that those aliens thrive. You know, so,
right. Yeah.
You know, it's a completely different thing, isn't it? You know, so.
It is. It absolutely is. And you know, but the philosophy is a win-win one. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But I also during this week, you know, thought, and I think we just touched on it on Sunday, and that was, you know, you like your son, he eats a blueberry, okay, but the plant continues to grow, okay. You know, if you eat a carrot, okay, the plant dies, okay, and then goodbye to the carrot. And you think, well, you know, should we just be eating things that are fruits of the plants, you know, like avocado fruits or oranges or pears or blueberries, or, yeah.
Well, a lot of herbs are like that, aren't they? You just pick a couple of leaves or
yes, that's exactly what you do with just about all the herbs. Okay. Oh, that was the other thing earlier on, right at the beginning of the conversation. It slipped my mind. I told you there's still one thing that I wanted to research, and maybe from these various doctors, but it's still in my mind, is where do we get our B12 from? Okay. So because I don't want a lifestyle philosophy of plant-based and find I've got to go and have a supplement. Why? That to me is so unnatural. Okay. So I was struggling with that a day ago. And
isn't it like the yeasts? Don't they normally have a vitamin B12 basis?
They have a vitamin B, but not B12. They have the other B vitamins. Yeah. And you know, one really, I mean, you know, I need to just go and pick up the phone here and just ask Siri if there's a plant-based B12. Okay. Hello, Siri. I want to know if there's a plant-based B12 vitamin.
Here's what I've found.
Every vegan should know about vitamin B12. That doesn't help me. And the other one, B12 in supplements. Two things that come up, okay? Both saying vegan have got to find their B12 elsewhere. And so that's what worries me. You see, now intuitively, I don't believe that's true. Okay, I really don't. But I can't justify it. I can't say why. It's just an intuitive feeling. There must be some source of plant. Or, you know, does the body perhaps with the right food make its own B12? Okay, I don't know.
There could be that. Well, what about out of like the brews, like the kombucha and brewed ginger beer and those sorts of things? Like, would they?
No, not with B12. No. And you can make kombucha with all types of different fruits and things, but you're not going to get B12 out of it. Okay. Yeah, I will. It's definitely, I don't want to forget that again, because I slipped my mind when I was talking to you. Let me just put it down here. B12, yeah.
So that quick Google search just basically said supplements. Is that essentially what it said?
They said the first, there were two results from Siri, and the first one said vegans need to be aware they're not getting B12, and the other one said vegans need to take supplements with B12.
So does that mean that in the natural state that B12 comes from meat?
Yeah, it does come from meat, you see. And historically, you get it at different amounts, but the most concentrated amount is in liver, okay? And so we were always having a bit of liver. You store the B12, okay, so you don't have to have it every day. So from time to time we would, but a lot of meats have B12 in it, okay? Not only liver. But I'll get to the bottom of that one. And, I'll let you know about that as well.
Well, that's interesting, because I would have thought there would have been something that.
It probably is. I just haven't researched for it. See, I haven't had to historically, because I got my B12 from meat, and yeah.
No, that is interesting. It's a fascinating topic. It really is.
Yeah, it is, and it fits so well with the topic that we were talking about before, and that's sustainability as well. It really fits with that, and yeah. We were actually going to talk about sustainability today, but yeah, I've hogged the conversation.
No, not at all. I think it's a fascinating topic, and it's one that does need a lot of exploration, because for exactly the sort of questions you've been raising tonight, they're important issues to chase. So
yeah.
So when you do your shopping now, I guess you're doing that in a lot more sort of a mindful sort of way too, I guess, in terms of planning what do you need to buy, and what are the meal options going to be, and things like that.
Yes. But historically we were also mindful, because we wanted to get the right meats, we wanted to get the right nutrients in the meats, and we do a bit of salmon and a bit of liver, and even kidneys in certain areas, and so it was very thoughtful. Our diet before was definitely very thoughtful, and wherever we could historically, we wanted to get things that were organic. But if we couldn't find organic, that would be fine. And so it was like if they don't have it, well, we'll just have the ordinary. So yes, in the sense that now we're very conscious, but it's also interesting that for the last maybe how long, about a month or two, we came across a shop called the Little Big Store, the Little Big Store. You can Google it and you can see it. It's all one word, the Little Big Store, and .org, I think it is. And they half of their products are vegan, okay, and the other about 100% organic. Okay, there's no, they don't sell anything that's not. In fact, they sell one product and they've got big letters on it when you see it, not organic. Okay. So I'd love to meet these characters sometime. I don't know who on earth they are, but it just so happened that it happened before my incident, going to hospital, that we had some, and they've got this big vegan menu of what we could buy. So, this past week we bought like they also have interesting. They put a lot of their like they've got a vegan pie. Okay, 100% organic. Okay, 100% plant-based. Okay, no chemicals, no additives, and you basically they've got a certain flavor which are with whatever herb they're using it with. But then you add, if you want more flavor, or when you've cooked it, then so they're those sort of things.
What's the contents? Is it like just full of what, vegetables or something like that? Or?
Yeah, it's absolutely. Let me just get. I think I've still got one in the deep freeze, and I'll read the benefit. Just hold on a minute. Sorry. No, this is not. This is the coffee one. I thought we had. No, we ate the last one yesterday or the day before. We've got one of the meat ones. So anyway,
I just Googled, what plants provide B12.
Yeah.
And there's a little story that says vitamin B12 from plants is available from a variety of sources, including nutritional yeast, fortified foods, cereals, mushrooms, and some algae.
Okay, just go through. So you just say it again, but slow. Fortified foods are not. That's out. Okay, they don't want fortified foods. But you said mushrooms as well.
Mushrooms, some algae, and nutritional yeast.
Nutritional yeast.
Yeah, and cereals.
Yeah, but cereals. Oh, not as in breakfast cereals. You're talking about cereals. Say which cereals? Like rice or?
It doesn't say. Let me just look.
Sue went into the dustbin and got out the pie, the vegan pie. Okay, we ate yesterday. Okay.
It says most cereals contain 25% of the suggested daily value of B12 per serving, and some may have a little more or less than that.
It doesn't talk about what cereal, which cereal.
No, not that I can say. Let's have a look.
Mushrooms are interesting because we eat mushrooms.
Nutritional yeast is a common source of vitamin B12.
Yeah.
Is a rich combination of cheesy and nutty flavors and adds a flavorful touch. Seaweed and nori. Seaweed is an algae rich in vitamin B12 and a common food in Asian countries.
Seaweed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shiitake mushrooms are another source of vitamin B12 in plants. They're relatively lower vitamin B12 content than other foods. So it's talking about dried mushrooms as well, rather than fresh ones.
Okay.
Tells you a bit, but not much, really.
Okay. No, well, at least I know now that I can go researching that. So thanks for that. And I just want to, because I'm going to have to end in a moment, because Sue's going into class and Woolworths is about to arrive with their. But let me just read this ingredients from from this, okay, that comes from the Little Big Shop, okay. And ingredients: onion, carrot, celery, peas, corn, seasonal vegetables, lentils, coconut cream, Celtic sea salt, garlic, nutritional yeast, black pepper, thyme, rosemary. Also,
well, there's nutritional yeast is already there. Yeah,
it's there in that. Yeah. Okay. Didn't know about it. So that's really. Let me just write that down as well. Nutritional yeast. Nutritional.
Fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Nutritional yeast, and also the shiitake mushrooms. Mushrooms, yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Really great. So, and this is really tasty, you know. And what we do, we cut it into 4. No, we did more than that now, didn't we, Sue? No, she's back in a lesson now. No, we each get 3 meals, so we cut it into 6. Okay, and so it's really then, you know, worthwhile. Okay, really, you know, it's. I think the cost of this is $20-something. Okay, and then we divide it into 6, so we each have 3 meals. Out of
well, that's reasonable, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
it is. Absolutely is. Absolutely is for something that's you know, as.
And do you put gravy on top?
Yeah. Yes, we do. Okay. Because it's what do you call it? Vacuum packed. Okay, when it arrives. Okay. And so what we do when I make soup, which I do in the pressure cooker. Okay. With, you know, and well, it's tasty soup. We always freeze a little bit of that to use as gravy. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so because it's very dry. Okay, it's interesting you bring that up. It's very, very dry. So, and therefore you can also make it go further if you've now got a gravy on it. Okay, as well. So, but yeah, not a commercial gravy, but.
Beef stock gravy, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, we do a lot in the pressure cooker now. Okay, we only bought it a few months ago, and it really is. It's an absolute godsend. And we also.
Anyway,
yeah.
Sorry.
No. I was also say we don't use microwave at all anymore. You know, when the grandchildren were here, they forever wanted to, you know, put some quick foods in the microwave, and now that they don't live with us anymore and we don't see them for meals, bye microwave. It's wrapped and put in the garage now. You know, Okay.
Well, I should let you go.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah, really good discussion. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, absolutely. I've really learned a lot. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And let's meet
talk
again
to you on the weekend.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Cheers, man.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye now.